Very good morning. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Vadva. We have a whole lot lined up for you, including Donald Trump has invited Prime Minister Modi in that conversation that took place yesterday. The two leaders have spoken of the beneficial and mutual relationship that the two countries share. And now Prime Minister Modi is likely to visit the United States, and that's expected next month in February. He would probably be visiting the White House for a meeting with Donald Trump. And these are reports that are coming in. Let's just go across to my colleague Ghazali, who has all the details for us. Ghazali, of course, this brings to mind the Howdy Modi moment that took place in Houston, which generated so much interest amongst not just the Indian community, but something that is, etched in everyone's memory when one thinks of the US-India relationship, especially the bonhomie between the two leaders.
Yes, certainly. And now Donald Trump has also confirmed that Prime Minister Modi would probably be visiting the White House for a meeting with him in Feb. And the Indian officials from the External Affairs Ministry had been working upon this meeting, probable meeting to be scheduled next month, because our External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, was there at the swearing-in ceremony. And even before that, before Mr. Trump came into office, External Ministry officials were in the United States in December last year, meeting the officials of the incoming Trump administration. And now it is very likely that next month PM would be visiting White House and be having the first meeting with the United States President, Mr. Donald Trump. And everybody would be looking forward to that kind of meeting, because we know that the bonhomie you mentioned between Mr. Modi and Mr. Trump was very evident back in the first Trump presidency, when he visited India, when Prime Minister also went to United States of America and had meetings with him. And he keeps praising the Prime Minister, or he keeps mentioning about the kind of rapport he enjoys with the Prime Minister. So it is very likely that this meeting will be happening the very next month in Feb, and then we would see the kind of agreements, the statements, and the reactions coming from both administrations over this meeting.
Right, of course, Prime Minister Modi's visit was last year, of course, during the regime, as far as, the Democrats is concerned. Take us through the difference in the relationship and the rapport that we've seen of Prime Minister Modi with, say, Joe Biden in comparison to Donald Trump.
The transition from Biden to Trump as head of the U.S. administration is certainly something which the Indian government was very concerned about and has been working on it. With Mr. Biden, there were many new initiatives which were taken when it comes to India-U.S. relations, be it the sector of emerging technologies, be it India being the part of Quad and India's involvement in Quad, and Mr. Biden also supporting India on multiple issues when it comes to bilateral relations. But with Mr. Trump, it is a bit different, because we saw that how Quad was the brainchild of Mr. Trump. It was formed, or it was constituted or restarted in 2017 when he was the president in 2021. And then after that, his own admission of how he gives a strategic relevance to Asia-Pacific region, India's involvement in that, and the maritime security or Chinese or the rising influence of China in the region is something which is very critical and which is very significant for U.S. as well. And it wants to have India as a reliable partner in the region besides U.S. and besides Australia, Japan, the other partners of Quad. And even that is why, even immediately after swearing in, the first bilateral meet which the U.S. administration did attend was the Quad's foreign ministers meet, which happened in Washington after the swearing-in ceremony the very next day. And even in the readout yesterday, when he spoke to the Prime Minister, he mentioned about that how India is a reliable partner when it comes to Quad, when it comes to Indo-Pacific region. So in this term particularly, we could see all these engagements moving or having an upswing. Will be built upon the previous relations with Mr. Modi, Mr. Modi and Trump, which they had in the first or the previous presidency of Mr. Trump. So the administration on both sides have committed that they will try to build upon the same relations even in this tenure.
Right, Ghazali, of course, Prime Minister Modi there visiting the United States to meet with Donald Trump as soon as he's taken office. I mean, it's just been a week and they had that telephonic conversation. Take us to the key takeaways in regard to, Donald Trump there saying that he expects India to do the right thing when it comes to illegal immigrants.
Donald Trump has been he has been very harsh, or he has been very strict when it comes to the issue of illegal immigrants. He has issued the executive orders to immediately deport those who are illegally staying in the United States without any documents. And we have seen a pushback or a kind of we have seen a kind of a pushback or retaliation and reaction from the neighboring countries of the United States, like Mexico, like Colombia, and then Mr. Trump going back and threatening them with tariffs. We saw what happened with Colombia when the Colombian president said that we won't accept the planes which are coming with deported immigrants. We won't accept them because Mr. Trump is not treating the immigrants very well. And when Mr. Trump issued threats of sanctions on Colombia, that is when the Colombian president also backed down, and he said that we will accept or we will admit the flights which are coming from US with the illegal immigrants. But when it comes to India, though these policies are certainly going to affect many Indians, because Indians constitute the largest number of legal migrants as well as illegal migrants. So, but India's position on the particular issue is very clear, that India doesn't support illegal immigration, but India absolutely treats the world as a global workforce, and it believes that Indians should go out and sort of seize the maximum work opportunities, harness their skills, and that is why India has made it its stand very clear that even if it is up to, when it comes to the issue of illegal immigrants, if they are deported and if they carry genuine documents confirming that they're Indian citizens, then India will admit them or India will receive them. But on the other issue, it is very clear that India also doesn't support the issue of illegal immigrants or Indians going to any other country illegally without obtaining mandatory and genuine documents.
Right, Ghazali, of course, very crucial conversation that's led to this very, crucial visit of Prime Minister Modi. And of course, when we talk about it, it's just been a week since he took charge as the President of the United States for the second time. And of course, that conversation's come about. And this visit could be in the very first month of that inauguration ceremony of Donald Trump. What does this really speak about the relationship between the two nations? And of course, stressing upon, expanding bilateral ties. What is it that the United States has said in that conversation in regard to the future plans between the two nations?
See, Mr. Trump means business, and that is why in the readout, if you see, besides sort of backing the India-US relations, besides saying that we discussed multilateral issues or issues of global relevance, Mr. Trump also goes on to say that he stressed, or he told Mr. Modi that India should also increase the defense procurement or procurement of security apparatus from United States. So that certainly shows that he treats India as a market, or he treats India as a reliable partner or a buyer who will continue to engage with US in the US markets or with the US products when it comes to security challenges. So that is one thing that shows clearly one thing, that US is very interested to have India's engagement when it comes to trade ties and investment. And India also treats US as one of the most reliable partners. There have been some disagreements on certain issues. We saw in the previous Biden administration that how issues of assassination attempt on Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, the Sikhs for Justice person who is a designated terrorist back here in India, or even Indian national being arrested there for the assassination attempt, and then cases filed against one case was filed against our NSA there. So these things, these issues were some issues which had created some sort of friction between the Biden administration and the government here. But in this particular term, in this U.S. administration headed by Mr. Trump, he has appointed many people in his cabinet who are seen to be pro-India, who are China hawks, who see China's rising influence in the region as a threat, and they treat India as a reliable partner. So that is something which is very comforting for India, and that is why our own External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, when he was there to attend the swearing-in ceremony of Mr. Trump, or the inaugural ceremony, he also went on to meet the National Security Advisor of United States, the new Secretary of State over there, and then they also discussed very clearly the issues of mutual relevance, whether it was about H-1B visa issue, whether it was the illegal immigration issue, and also now a new executive order which has taken everyone aback is the U.S. halting or freezing the funds to its own USAID agencies or foreign funding to other countries. India and other countries are also concerned about it, and I hope that when Prime Minister visits next month, these issues will certainly come up for discussion with Mr. Trump.
Right, Ghazali, of course, from what we're hearing is that the United States President has emphasized the importance of India increasing its procurement of American-made security equipment and moving towards a fair bilateral trading relationship. Of course, this is something that we can expect announcements on these lines during that visit of Prime Minister Modi to the United States, and that's expected very, very soon, coming up next month.
Yes, and that was something which was being worked out for a very long time. Since November, when we heard that, when it was known that Mr. Trump has won the election, since then Indian officials were working on it. External Affairs Minister was in the United States back in December itself, before even Mr. Trump had taken office. He was already meeting the incoming officials of the Trump administration, and that is when it appeared there were sources which are confirming that this meeting, or the schedule of the meeting, is being worked out, and perhaps Prime Minister will meet him in Feb, and he will be among the very few foreign leaders who will be meeting Mr. Trump in a span of 30 days of him getting into the office. So it is going to have a very, it will be seen as a very positive development when it comes to, when it concerns the U.S.-India relationship, when it comes to sort of reduce the friction between Indian government and the previous administration, the Biden administration, and in this administration under Trump. India will certainly look forward to deepen and further collaborate on multiple spheres. Besides having aid and besides having U.S. support, it will be, the focus will remain on energy sector, on defense sector, on space technology, on all these issues in which India's and U.S.'s interests converge.
Right, Ghazali, just stay with us. Of course, let's just, get you more on this. And to get more on this, we have Ambassador Anil Nayar, the former diplomat, joining us this morning. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking with us here on NDTV. A visit of Prime Minister Modi to the United States to meet with Donald Trump is, quite a significant visit. They're coming within, say, the first 30 days of Donald Trump taking office. This has, come up in that conversation that the two leaders had yesterday within that 1 week span of the inauguration ceremony of President Trump. Take us through the kind of bonhomie and the kind of relationship that the two leaders really share.
Well, if you remember that from the very beginning, Prime Minister Modi had an excellent relationship with President Trump, especially in his first term. And thereafter, they have remained in touch, although it is also driven by the importance that United States and India are attached to each other, because both are global comprehensive strategic partners, and the relationship has really moved. And in fact, if you remember, the Quad, in fact, got its full steam during President Trump's first term. And this time also, as soon as he took over, we saw that the Marco Rubio had a meeting with all the three other foreign ministers and the foreign minister of Quad, in which also the next meeting of Quad summit was decided, which is to be held by India this year. And therefore, the visit of President Trump is expected sometime during the year. Moreover, Prime Minister Modi was one of the first three people actually to have called up President Trump and congratulated him on his victory. And as you mentioned, the second talk between the two leaders took place now. And of course, our foreign minister has been present there and has been talking to them. And so this relationship's importance is very much clearly evident, which is both by India's strategic pivot as well as by the leadership between the two leaders. And it also shows that President Trump tries to bring back the key partners on the table with whom he considers either as his adversary or his close friends. So I think that his approach to China and approach to India this time is going to be a bit of a change. And therefore, we are going to see closer partnership with India, much closer partnership. And it'll be, of course, trade, more armaments. He's a businessman. He looks at everything from a transactional perspective. We should not forget it. And we have to buy good equipment. As long as we can get the top technology and top equipment, why not? We need to buy it. And if America is happy with that. Secondly, we already started last time, as you remember, getting some oil. Of course, it needs to be competitive in the market. So India would also consider buying from the United States more energy if necessary, because we need energy. So we need to diversify our sources from all over. And hopefully, if the Russia-Ukraine war ends, then a lot of trouble and problems going forward could also be addressed. So I think the two leaders have a lot on their plate to discuss the key issues and challenges that are facing the world, including hegemonistic approaches of certain countries. So I think that this would need to be addressed, and I believe that the table is set for that.
Right, you did mention that Donald Trump is due in India for the Quad Summit, and that's going to be coming up later this year. And considering that Donald Trump will be here, Prime Minister Modi is making that trip to the United States. During that conversation, of course, also Donald Trump brought up the fact that India, what is really expected out of India is to do the right thing when it comes to illegal immigration. So a lot really also hinges on that in order to expand the bilateral ties between the two nations. So what is it that, Donald Trump is expecting in terms of illegal immigration when it comes to India?
Well, India has always supported the legal migration of talent and the people. We signed migration and mobility agreements with a large number of countries, and we have never supported and virtually always opposed any illegal migration that takes place. We have ourselves suffered from the illegal migration. And India has already, as Dr. Jaishankar said, that once it is proved that they are Indian citizens, India is willing to take them back. So that question, in my view, is not that very important at this stage, because we have not said we will not take, but we will only take our own citizens. Very often we have seen in the past, and I have faced this problem also, that when we send back people from abroad, when they arrive at the Indian immigration, they say we are not Indians. And so we need to be very, very careful, fully verify that they indeed were Indian citizens. And then we have never said that we will not take them back.
Right, sir. Also, of course, Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump, both sides have spoken about global peace and security. How would Russia perceive this?
Well, I think the Russians understand, and they themselves are making their own outreach to President Trump. I remember I was in Sochi in November on the day President Trump's victory was declared, and President Putin very openly conveyed to him that they want good relations with them. He congratulated it. So that's what I said. If the US-Russia relations improve, a lot of problems can be addressed. And India is a good friend and a strategic partner both of Russia and the US. So from our perspective, it works both ways.
Right, sir. Of course, this visit, this upcoming visit of the Prime Minister is bringing to mind the Howdy Modi event in 2019, the event that was, it has been etched in the memory of most NRIs and Indians who saw that event, and the bonhomie between the two leaders, but also the popularity of Mr. Modi abroad, particularly in the United States. Take us through has there been a change when it came to Joe Biden and the administration of Joe Biden and the events that were lined up, and of course the relationship between the two nations under Joe Biden and the difference between the relationship going forward with Donald Trump?
Well, I would like to say that President Modi has this exceptional ability to connect with leaders and the people. And he has this kind of personal relationship with a large number of leaders. And it was also there with President Biden. But at the same time, the Democratic partnership and Democratic leadership has a very different style of working. They want to have both the ways. Whereas Trump is a transactional person, also a good friend. And he always said and praised Prime Minister Modi many a time. Openly, he said, I admire that man. And this kind of a relationship is there. And we have seen it, what happened in Texas. It has never happened before that an Indian Prime Minister taking around the US President, sitting US President around the stadium with thousands and thousands of people. And in the US, as you have seen, the largest of the gatherings don't have that kind of an impact that Prime Minister had with connecting with the diaspora. And Indian diaspora is very, very important today in the US political landscape. And they are the governors, they are congressmen, they are everywhere. And in fact, in the President Trump's administration, there are quite a few of them who are in very key positions. And so he understands, and plus he understands that India is a country, it's a rising power, it is a pivot for them. So strategically also India is very important for the United States, as is United States for India.
Right, of course. Well, it is the White House saying that it was a very productive call. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for speaking with us here on NDTV.